There is something deeply misunderstood about the word surrender. For many, it sounds like weakness, like giving up, like admitting defeat. But when we speak of surrendering everything to the Holy Spirit, we are not speaking of loss. We are speaking of discovery. We are speaking of stepping out of the exhausting struggle of trying to control every detail of our lives and stepping into a place of divine rest where God Himself takes the lead. You see, true surrender is not about laying down your strength. It is about placing your strength into the hands of the one who gave it to you. It is not about becoming passive or empty, but about becoming available. So often we hold tightly to our plans, our expectations, our timelines, believing that if we just try harder, think smarter, or push further, we can shape life into what we desire. And yet deep within there is often a quiet unrest, a sense that something is missing, that something is not quite aligned. That unrest is not there to trouble you. It is there to invite you. Because the Holy Spirit does not force His way into a life. He waits gently, patiently for an open heart. And surrender is simply that, the opening of the heart. It is the moment when you say, "Not my will, but yours." It is the quiet decision to trust that there is a wisdom greater than your own understanding, a love deeper than your greatest longing, and a plan more beautiful than anything you could design for yourself. And oh, how we resist that at times. We resist because we want certainty. We want to know how everything will unfold. We want guarantees. But surrender asks something very different of us. It asks for trust without full visibility. It asks us to walk forward, not because we see the entire path, but because we know the one who leads us. You don't have to have everything figured out to surrender. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have every question answered. Surrender begins in a simple, honest place. It begins when you come just as you are, uncertain, perhaps even afraid, and you say, "Holy Spirit, I give this to you. I give you my plans, my fears, my desires, my confusion. I give you all of me," and something sacred happens in that moment. Because when you release your grip even just a little, you begin to feel His peace. Not a peace that comes from circumstances being perfect, but a peace that settles deep within your spirit. A peace that whispers, "You are not alone, you are being led, you are being held." This is the beautiful exchange of surrender. You lay down your burden, and He gives you rest. You release your striving, and He gives you direction. You let go of your fear, and He fills you with quiet confidence. It does not always happen in dramatic ways. Sometimes it is gentle, almost imperceptible, but it is real, and it is life-changing. And the truth is, the Holy Spirit knows you completely. He knows your past, your present, and every hidden corner of your heart. He understands the things you cannot even put into words. And when you surrender to Him, you are not stepping into the unknown. You are stepping into the care of one who has always known you and has always loved you. So surrender is not losing yourself. It is finding your true self in Him. It is not giving up your life. It is receiving the life you were always meant to live. It is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a deeper, more meaningful walk with God. And it begins with a simple, heartfelt decision to trust Him with everything. And when that surrender begins, when the heart quietly says yes, something remarkable unfolds within the soul. You begin to realize that you are not walking this life alone, trying to interpret every moment by your own understanding. There is a presence with you, closer than your next breath, deeply involved in the details of your life. This is the role of the Holy Spirit, not distant, not abstract, but intimately near. The Holy Spirit is not merely a concept to be understood. He is a living guide to be known. And oh, how gently He leads, not with force, not with confusion, but with a clarity that settles deep within your spirit. There are moments when you may not hear words, yet you know. You know which step to take, which path to avoid, which choice carries peace and which does not. That knowing is not from your own reasoning alone. It is the quiet leading of the Spirit of God. So many are searching for direction, searching for purpose, searching for something steady in a world that feels uncertain. And yet the answer is not found in striving harder or thinking louder. It is found in listening, truly listening, to the one who already knows the way. The Holy Spirit sees what you cannot see. He understands the connections, the timing, the unfolding of events in ways far beyond human comprehension. And when you surrender, you begin to trust that guidance. There is a comfort that comes from this relationship that cannot be explained by circumstances. Life does not suddenly become free of challenges, but there is a strength within you that was not there before. In moments of weakness, when you feel you cannot go on, the Holy Spirit becomes your strength. When your heart is heavy and words fail you, He becomes your comfort. When confusion surrounds you, He becomes your teacher, bringing understanding in ways that are quiet yet unmistakable. You may be in a situation where nothing outward seems to change, and yet everything within you is being transformed. That is the work of the Holy Spirit. He does not always remove you from the storm immediately, but he steadies you within it. He reminds you that you are held, that you are not abandoned, that there is purpose even in the waiting. And oh, how personal this becomes, because the Holy Spirit does not lead one person the same way he leads another. He knows your heart. He knows how to speak to you in a way you will recognize. For some it may be a deep sense of peace, for others a gentle conviction that redirects their steps, for others still, a quiet assurance that grows stronger with time. However he speaks, it will always align with truth, and it will always draw you closer to the heart of God. But you see, this is where surrender remains essential, because if we hold tightly to our own understanding, we can miss his leading. If we insist on our own timing, we can overlook his perfect timing. The Holy Spirit will not compete with your will. He invites it. He waits for that yielded heart that says, "Lead me, and I will follow." And when that happens, life begins to take on a different rhythm. You are no longer driven by fear or pressured by the need to have all the answers. There is a quiet confidence that grows within you, not in yourself, but in the one who is guiding you. Decisions become less about striving and more about discerning. You begin to move not out of anxiety, but out of peace. That peace is one of the greatest gifts the Holy Spirit gives. It is not dependent on everything going right. It is deeper than circumstances. It is a steady anchor within your soul that reminds you again and again you are being led. And when you truly begin to live in that awareness, something changes. You stop feeling alone in your decisions. You stop carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. You begin to walk with a sense of divine companionship, knowing that every step is seen, every moment is guided, and every detail matters to him. This is the beauty of surrender, to discover that the Holy Spirit has been there all along, waiting not to control your life, but to lead it with wisdom, love, and perfect understanding. And when you allow him to lead, you will never walk alone again. And yet, even as we begin to understand this gentle leading, there remains within us a quiet struggle, a hesitation that rises from deep within the human heart. It is the struggle to let go, because as beautiful as surrender sounds, it asks us to release something we have held on to for so long, our need to control. Control can feel safe. It gives us the illusion that if we hold everything tightly enough, we can prevent pain, avoid disappointment, and shape outcomes exactly as we desire. We plan, we calculate, we anticipate every possibility, hoping that through our effort we can secure a future that feels certain. But if we are honest, that control often comes with a cost. It brings tension, restlessness, and a constant undercurrent of fear. Fear that something might go wrong. Fear that we might lose what we are trying so hard to protect. And fear has a way of disguising itself. Sometimes it appears as responsibility, sometimes as wisdom, sometimes even as strength. But beneath it there is often a quiet anxiety that keeps the heart from fully trusting. It whispers, "What if you let go and everything falls apart?" This is where surrender becomes deeply personal. Because letting go is not simply an external act, it is an internal release. It is choosing moment by moment to loosen your grip on the things you cannot control. It is recognizing that no amount of striving can guarantee outcomes, and no amount of worry can change what is beyond your reach. And yet, how difficult that can be. There are things you care about deeply, dreams you have carried, relationships you have invested in, situations that matter to you in ways words cannot fully express. To surrender those things can feel like stepping into uncertainty. It can feel like standing on the edge of something unknown, wondering if it is safe to trust. But listen closely. Surrender is not abandoning what matters to you. It is entrusting it to the one who cares even more than you do. The Holy Spirit does not ask you to stop caring. He asks you to stop carrying what was never yours to carry alone. He asks you to release the burden of outcomes, the weight of trying to control every detail, and the exhausting effort of holding everything together by your own strength. And when you begin to do that, even in the smallest ways, you start to notice a shift. The tightness begins to ease. The constant what-if questions begin to quiet. Not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because you are no longer trying to be the source of them. Fear loses its grip when trust takes its place. But trust is not built in a single moment. It grows. It deepens each time you choose to let go instead of hold on. Each time you say, "Holy Spirit, I don't understand this, but I trust you with it." Each time you resist the urge to control, and instead choose to rest in his leading. And yes, there may still be moments when fear rises again. That does not mean you have failed. It simply means you are human. In those moments, surrender becomes a returning, a gentle coming back to that place of trust. Again and again you release, you trust, you lean into his presence. Because the truth is, control was never giving you the security you thought it did. It was only giving you the illusion of it. True security is found in knowing that your life is in the hands of a loving and faithful God, who sees beyond what you can see and works in ways you cannot fully comprehend. And when you begin to live from that place, something beautiful happens. You are no longer driven by fear of the future. You are no longer weighed down by the need to make everything perfect. There is a freedom that begins to rise within you, a lightness of spirit that comes from knowing you are not alone in the process. You begin to breathe differently, to live differently, to trust more deeply. Because surrender is not a one-time release, it is a continual choice to let go of fear and take hold of trust. It is choosing in every uncertain moment to believe that you are being led with wisdom and love. And in that letting go, you finally discover what it means to be truly free. And it is here, right in that place where you have begun to let go, where the grip of fear is loosening and trust is beginning to take root, that something profoundly simple yet deeply powerful emerges. It is not found in complexity. It is not hidden behind elaborate words or rituals. It comes in the form of a prayer. Not a prayer spoken out of routine, not one repeated without thought, but a prayer that rises from the deepest part of your being. A prayer that is honest, unguarded, and real. Because when it comes to surrender, it is not the eloquence of your words that matters. It is the posture of your heart. There is a moment in every life when words become unnecessary, when pretense falls away, and all that remains is a quiet longing to be led, to be held, to be understood. And in that moment, even the simplest prayer becomes powerful. It may be as gentle as a whisper, "Holy Spirit, I give you everything." And yet, within those few words lies a complete yielding of the heart. This is what makes such a prayer life-changing. Because it is not about informing God of something he does not already know. He sees your heart. He understands your struggles, your fears, your desires, even the things you cannot fully express. The power of the prayer is not in revelation to him, it is in release within you. It is the moment you stop holding back, the moment you stop trying to manage everything on your own, the moment you open every hidden place of your life and say, "Take it. Lead me." And when that prayer is truly meant, something shifts. It may not always be visible immediately. There may not be thunder or dramatic signs. But deep within there is a turning. A sacred exchange takes place. You lay down your will and you begin to receive his. You release your striving and you begin to sense his peace. You open your heart and his presence fills the space you once guarded so carefully. That is why this prayer cannot be mechanical. It cannot be rushed or forced. It must come from a place of sincerity. You may find yourself praying it in a quiet room, or in a moment of desperation, or even in the stillness of your thoughts when no one else is around. The setting does not matter. What matters is that it is real, and sometimes it is not even spoken perfectly. There may be pauses, tears, uncertainty, but the Holy Spirit does not require perfection. He responds to authenticity. He meets you in that place where you are willing to be completely open, completely honest, completely surrendered. You see, we often think transformation requires time, effort, and gradual change. And while there is a journey ahead, there are moments, sacred moments, when everything begins with a single decision, a single prayer, a single yes. And that yes carries more power than you realize. It is the doorway to a new way of living. It is the moment you stop resisting and start receiving. It is where the Holy Spirit is no longer kept at a distance, but welcomed fully into every area of your life. Not just the comfortable parts, not just the areas you feel in control of, but everything. And that is what makes it life-changing. Because when you truly pray this way, you are no longer holding pieces of your life back. You are no longer saying, "You can have this, but not that." Instead, you are placing it all before him, your past, your present, your future, your hopes, your fears, your questions, and trusting that his hands are capable of holding it all. And they are. There is no burden too heavy, no situation too complex, no heart too broken for him to receive. When you pray this prayer, you are not stepping into uncertainty, you are stepping into divine care, into a relationship that is active, personal, and deeply transformative. And the beauty of it is this: you can pray it at any moment. You do not have to wait for the perfect time or the perfect feeling. You simply come as you are and offer what you have. Because in the end, it is not about having the right words, it is about having a willing heart. And one sincere prayer of surrender can change everything. And once that prayer has been spoken, truly spoken, from the depths of your heart, you may think the moment has passed, that surrender was something that happened once, something completed in a single sacred exchange. But as beautiful and powerful as that moment is, it is only the beginning of something far greater. Because surrender is not meant to remain a single experience. It is meant to become a way of living. You see, life does not stop presenting moments that require trust. Each day brings new decisions, new uncertainties, new opportunities to either hold tightly or release once again. And this is where surrender deepens. Not in grand gestures alone, but in the quiet, consistent choices made in everyday life. It may be in the morning, before the day begins, when you pause and say, "Holy Spirit, guide me today." It may be in a moment of frustration, when things are not unfolding the way you expected, and instead of reacting, you choose to yield. It may be in a decision that feels unclear, where instead of forcing an answer, you wait in trust for His direction. These moments may seem small, almost insignificant, but they are where true transformation takes place. Because every time you choose surrender, something within you is being shaped. Your thoughts begin to change. Your responses begin to shift. The things that once caused anxiety begin to lose their power over you. And slowly, gently, you begin to reflect a different kind of life. One that is no longer driven by impulse or fear, but by a growing awareness of His presence. This is what it means to live in daily surrender. It is not about perfection. There will be moments when you forget, moments when you try to take control again, moments when fear tries to return. But even then, surrender is still available to you. It is always just one decision away. You can return to it again and again, without hesitation, without fear of rejection. The Holy Spirit does not grow weary of your returning. In fact, He welcomes it, and with each return, your trust becomes stronger. What once felt difficult begins to feel natural. What once required effort begins to flow more freely. You begin to recognize His voice more clearly, His leading more confidently. Not because life has become simpler, but because your relationship with Him has become deeper. There is a quiet transformation that takes place in those who practice this kind of surrender. It is not always visible to the outside world, but within, everything is changing. Your heart becomes more sensitive to His presence. Your spirit becomes more attuned to His leading. You begin to desire what He desires, to seek what He seeks. And this transformation is not forced. It is the natural result of staying yielded. Day by day, surrender shapes your character. It softens what was once hardened. It brings peace where there was once striving. It replaces confusion with clarity, not by giving you all the answers at once, but by guiding you step by step. And perhaps one of the most beautiful aspects of daily surrender is this. You no longer feel the need to rush ahead. There is a patience that begins to grow within you. A willingness to trust the process, to trust the timing, to trust that even when you do not see immediate results, something is unfolding beneath the surface. Because the Holy Spirit is always at work. Even in the quiet days, even in the moments that feel ordinary, even when you cannot sense anything changing. He is working within you, aligning your heart, strengthening your faith, preparing you for what lies ahead. And as you continue in this daily practice, you begin to realize that surrender is not something you are losing, it is something you are gaining. You are gaining peace that does not depend on circumstances. You are gaining strength that does not come from within yourself. You are gaining a life that is steadily, beautifully aligned with the heart of God. This is the journey of transformation, not instant, not superficial, but deep, lasting, and real. And it unfolds one surrendered day at a time. And as this journey continues, this daily yielding, this quiet returning, this growing awareness of His presence, you begin to notice something remarkable. Life no longer feels like something you are striving to manage on your own. Instead, it begins to feel like something you are walking through with Him, moment by moment, step by step. This is what it means to truly live a Spirit-led life. It is not a life without challenges. It is not a life where everything unfolds exactly as you would have planned. But it is a life marked by something deeper, something steady, something unshakable. There is a sense of direction that does not depend on circumstances. There is a peace that remains, even when the world around you feels uncertain. Because when the Holy Spirit leads, He does not lead with confusion. There is a clarity that begins to form within you, not always in loud or dramatic ways, but in a quiet assurance that guides your decisions, your responses, your perspective. You may find that things which once overwhelmed you no longer carry the same weight. Situations that once caused anxiety are now met with a calm trust. Not because you have become stronger in yourself, but because you have learned to rely on a strength that is far greater than your own. And with that comes a sense of purpose. Not a purpose that is forced or constructed, but one that unfolds naturally as you follow His leading. You begin to understand that your life is not random, that your steps are not without meaning. Even the moments that seem small, even the seasons that feel quiet, are part of something greater than you can fully see. The Holy Spirit has a way of weaving everything together. He takes your experiences, your gifts, your struggles, and even your uncertainties, and begins to shape them into something meaningful. And as you continue to walk with Him, you start to recognize that you are not just existing, you are being led with intention. There is also a courage that begins to rise within you. It is not loud or boastful. It is not the kind of courage that draws attention to itself. It is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. It is the courage to trust when you do not understand. The courage to move forward when the path is not fully clear. The courage to remain at peace when everything around you feels unsettled. This courage comes from knowing that you are not alone. And perhaps one of the most beautiful aspects of a spirit-led life is the deep sense of connection it brings. Not just an awareness of God, but a closeness, a relationship that feels real, personal, and alive. You begin to sense His presence not only in moments of prayer, but in the ordinary rhythms of your day. In your thoughts, in your decisions, in your interactions, there is a quiet companionship that remains with you. You are never walking alone. And as that awareness grows, so does a sense of fulfillment. Not the kind that comes from achieving everything you once thought you wanted, but a deeper fulfillment, the kind that comes from knowing you are exactly where you are meant to be, doing what you are meant to do, guided by the one who knows you completely. This kind of life cannot be found in striving. It cannot be purchased, earned, or manufactured. It is the natural result of surrender, a life that is no longer centered on self, but aligned with something far greater. And when you look back, you begin to see the difference. You see how far you have come from the days of holding on so tightly, from the moments filled with fear and uncertainty. You see how surrender has gently, faithfully led you into a life marked by peace, purpose, and quiet confidence. Not because everything became perfect, but because you learned to trust the one who is. And this is the invitation that remains, not just for a moment, not just for a season, but for a lifetime. To continue walking, to continue trusting, to continue living in that place of surrender where the Holy Spirit leads and you follow. Because in the end, a life led by the Spirit is a life that is truly lived.